Dr. Sanderson here. Welcome to Unit 5, where we're going to be talking about social media and how it impacts team dynamics in sports. As we've talked about during the course, social media has impacted a lot of areas of sport, broadcast, media, how organizations are managing and monitoring, what their players and coaches are doing on social media. We're seeing athletes get into political and social issues through social media. Uh, in addition to that, it's also impacted relationships amongst players and as well between players and others within the organization. In the readings for this unit, you're going to look at some really kind of what I feel are interesting examples here that kind of show how social media is altering, team dynamics. So, for instance, some of you are familiar, I'm sure, with what happened with Antonio Brown, who plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers, where after their playoff game last year, I believe it was against the Chiefs, the head coach Mike Tomlin was addressing the team, and Antonio Brown broadcast that via Facebook Live, and the head coach and had no idea that was going on. And as you'll see in the readings and stuff, he was not very happy about that. And so, what we're seeing is this private kind of behavior, things that have always kind of been kept away from the public view, they're now becoming public. Post-game locker room speeches. You'll read an article about two NBA players, one of them who filmed the other one cheating on his girlfriend, and that ended up on social media. There's been issues with players getting mad at each other for unfollowing. One player will unfollow a teammate, and it leads to friction. So, just some really kind of interesting changes that we're seeing here. And also, I just want to mention that, the family members of athletes and social media is an issue here as well. So, what is an athlete's wife or girlfriend or husband or boyfriend or mom or dad or brother or sister or friend? What are they putting on social media? Because that can clearly impact the team in terms of the media asking, players about that, asking the team about that. If you remember, and from last year's NBA Finals, Steph Curry's wife tweeted out that she thought the finals were rigged, and so that's all the media asked the Warriors about after that was, well, what about Ayesha Curry's tweet? What about Ayesha Curry's tweet? And clearly that's not something the team wants to be addressing, but that's the reality of the world we live in. So, a couple things just to point out with this phenomenon is that we need to look at larger cultural trends with social media to kind of understand what's going on in sports. So, if we look at our society, we know that people are using social media more to communicate, that especially younger people, that's their primary method of communication in many instances. And they, there's differences in terms of privacy now, where, people who are older, there's certain things they would never put out on social media, whereas younger people, and again, I understand this might not be the case for everyone, but just kind of speaking generally here, they are very free often with things that they divulge. And so, if you're an athlete and you've just got in the habit of divulging things on social media, well, you might not then handle your problems face to face. You might just go to your Instagram and say, hey, I'm sick of the coach, I'm sick of my teammates, rather than, handling that face to face, which has kind of been the norm in sports. So, as our society continues to use social media and use technology more, especially at younger ages, then we have to really be aware of how that's going to then impact, athletes as they come up through the system. So, I think that's one reason why organizations need to really be diligent in educating athletes and letting them know what the expectations are. And you might say, well, gee, that's dumb to have to say to someone, hey, you should handle your problems face to face. You shouldn't post on social media. But that, again, to someone who's younger, that may seem like the normal thing to do. So I think just the more proactive organizations are, the better. And then, with these things like Facebook Live, I mean, keep an eye on that, because I don't think this will be the last time that we see something in a sports locker room become public through Facebook Live, which is the topic that you'll address in the discussion forum. So, interested in your thoughts there. Again, your initial post is due by Saturday. Your two response posts will be due by Monday. Remember that your athlete activism essay is due by Monday, June 19th. And then next week, or the next unit, is the last unit of the course. There's several assignments due, including your social media follower paper, And if you're a graduate student, your research paper, so definitely need to be also working on those as well because we're coming up close to the end of the course. So looking forward to your thoughts there, and I'll talk to you soon.